Thank you, that was so wonderful. Now, when you're on your way out, grab a book, and if you can't afford to buy one, Chad will just hand you one. How's that for a deal? So we're going to go right into the open mic, and RaeAnne, thank you. That was wonderful. And you just go on back and sit down at that table and get ready to sign books, because I know you do that really well. Okay, and we'll go into the open mic. I have a list here. First on the list is Ronald Jensen, and then we have Diane Hardy and Tara Hawkins. We'll go in that order.
Hi.
Hi, Ron.
From Rockville, but I love the children. You run in the house, you know they might follow. But I love the children. They make a lot of noise, almost all the girls and boys. But I love the children. They do more than talk when they go on their walks. But I love the children. I don't eat them foods. You know they're good. But I love the children. We don't always listen. And you know it's too. You love us, man. I know you do. It's so hard to go to the right part to go because I love the children. Yes, pull me out. I never thought it would happen. I never thought I could stay. Going home to my wife at the end of the day. I tell them to others, and never to me. I'm married to Cena. This wasn't to be. Then I found Kayleen. Remember, Dean's gone too. You're my better half. I sure love you.
This is chapter 10 of the book that I'm working on about this story about this Jay, this kid from Oklahoma. Jay looked around. Where am I? Nothing was familiar. People mulled here and there, but they paid no attention to him. As soon as I take a piss, they'll notice me, he thought. Not a building in sight, and rocks and bushes are too small to hide me. If I don't find somewhere soon, I'll wet myself. Within seconds, he jerked awake, leapt from the bed, and fled toward the bathroom all in one motion. Feeling too unsteady to stand, he sat down on the seat of the toilet. He had trouble starting because his bladder was so full. At least I made it this time. He recalled a time when he didn't, a time when he'd had to strip the bed and change the sheets, fumbling around in the dark in order to not awaken Harold in the next room if he was home. Unable to see, Jay had gotten the sheets mixed up, putting the contour one on top, and had to remake the bed, all in the dark. He thought about the ordeal now. As he peed, smiled to himself. I shouldn't have been worried about him. He probably wasn't even home. Finished with the piss cramps gone, Jay rose from the toilet, washed his hands, and started for bed, but was stopped by sunlight peeping through a crack in the kitchen window. He stepped over and pulled apart the faded orange curtains. Cobwebs stuck to his fingers. Jay brushed them off and tried to look out, but a thick coat of dirt on the window prevented him from seeing anything. Sticking his index finger in his mouth, he wet it and wiped a circle into the film to look out. When I went to sleep, the sun was overhead, so it was around noon. Now it's late afternoon because the sun's way over in the west. I'll bet I've been asleep at least since yesterday, maybe longer. Had to be. I peed at least a gallon. Feeling thirsty, he rinsed a glass from the sink, filled it with water, and downed it in 3 gulps. He started for bed again, but stopped. Opening the curtains had let in a big shaft of sunlight, which now shone directly on the kitchen table, highlighting a small sack. Jay opened it, looked in, and found a cupcake with white frosting and a single red candle. Where'd this come from, he wondered, dumping the cake out onto the table. He carried it over to the window and looked out more closely this time, noticing that tree leaves were red, orange, and yellow. Turning his attention back to the cake, he sat and squeezed it. Black chocolate, crusty hard. I wonder how long it's been sitting here. If it's for my birthday, then it's October. He plunged his finger into the stale icing. Finding it too hard to lick, he chewed it off the cake. Then he hunted through a kitchen drawer and found a match. Striking it, he fired the candle, dripped wax on the table, and smeared it around with his finger. When the flame died down, Jay snuffed the candle, flung it into the garbage. So much for that, he thought, scraping the wax drippings onto a piece of paper by the sack. He was ready to trash the whole mess when he noticed the paper had scribbling on it. He spread it out flat in the sunlight and read, "Jay, you're not right, never have been. I don't know why, but it ain't my problem now, 'cause you're 16. Get a job and be a man, maybe you can do it. I ain't never been good, 'cause I drunk me down. That is badder than just being stupid, so I guess you got a shot at it." He read again, slowly, pointing at each word. Then the kitchen, with its filthy sink, rotting curtains, and curled linoleum, swam before him, and he rose, legs spread apart like a gunfighter. Grabbing the petrified cake, he pounded it into the note, ripping the paper, pressing hard enough to turn his fingertips white. Crumbs splayed the table, tumbled to the floor. Jay took a step, rammed his toe against the table leg, and screamed in pain. He buried his face in his hands and said to himself, "You didn't cry, you ain't never going to." Minutes later he rose, methodically overturned the table, flung the chair to the wall, and tromped to the furnace room. Raucous sounds escaped his throat, a seesawing laugh like drowning for air. He lay in bed, mouthing the song, and it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. Ironically, it comforted him. It's okay, he thought. It'll go faster without him. Indistinguishable days and nights followed. Hunger cleared out, thirst decreased, bathroom trips became more infrequent. Jay felt dizzy whenever he attempted to stand up, so he stayed in bed for the most part, again losing all track of time. One day he wakened to the sound of someone wrenching the front door open. Bleary-eyed, he tumbled from the bedroom, grasping at the furniture. He lurched into the kitchen to find a man fiddling with the cook stove. Startled, the guy jumped up, dropped his wrench. What are you doing here, kid?" "Live." He collapsed into a chair. "Take it easy, son, you don't look well. We better get you to a doctor." Jay, white and incoherent, dropped his head to his chest and fell from the chair. The man raced to his side. "Listen, you need help. I swear I won't hurt you. What's your name?" "Jay." "Will you go home with me?" Jay didn't answer. The man simply picked him up, hefted him over his shoulder, and carried him out the door.
So I've got a poem and a few little short stories, and they're little and short. But the poem is called 1800 North. The path has concrete brick on the east side, mud beneath my feet, irrigation water, and tomatillos, red hot peppers, cabbages, dogs that bark on the west side, at least at first. Soon there is a concrete path that winds all the way from here to Park Avenue. Tame, friendly horses on the east side, at least today. Sometimes they're in the north pasture, in the shade. I walk over one flat wooden bridge at a time, looking for frogs, ducks, egrets, herons, geese. Today there are 100 white butterflies enjoying purple clover. I walk past green metal benches to the Logan River, where a child has lost a red ball amidst the rocks beneath the bridge. Today the path is lined with purple thistles higher than my head. Today the path is hot with summer. I will sit on a bench and watch the little yellow birds flit amongst the trees above the water as I breathe. And the first story is called Dino Island. "Why don't we just stay here and get cocktails by the pool?" I asked. Blaine exploded. This is the most exciting discovery since King Tut, and we have the privilege of being the first to see it since it was discovered, shouted Blaine. We are not going to sit idly by the pool. Get yourself together, Vivian, because we leave in 10 minutes. I'm perfectly prepared, I said calmly. It was always good to remain calm when Blaine fussed. However, the children are in the pool. Well, get them out of the damn pool, Blaine yelled. We need to be in the helicopter in 9 minutes. Then he stormed out. I assumed he was headed to the launch pad, or whatever you call it. I grabbed towels and sauntered over to the pool. It took several minutes to get Barbara and Jeremy's attention. I wrapped them in towels, and we headed for the launch without them changing because, as I told them, your father is insisting. I, on the other hand, was perfectly prepared, just as I had told Blaine. I wore a Ralph Lauren blouse and slacks topped with a Hermes scarf. I had on Prada boots and carried a Louis Vuitton backpack filled with Perrier, Power Bowers, assorted fruit, trail mix, beef jerky, and a first aid kit. We made it to the helicopter exactly on time, but Blaine acted as if we'd kept him waiting a week. Honestly, he could be such a child. He was pretending that the trip was for the children because they were so excited about it, but it was clear that the children would rather play in the pool. And frankly, I didn't think the idea was safe at all. It was true that the discovery of Dino Island had made a big splash in the news, and Blaine's company owned the island. Blaine was in oil, which I kept telling him was so tacky in this day and age, and had money to invest in a resort on one of the outer islands, which is where we were staying, and wanted to sell regular helicopter trips over Dino Island to see the dinosaurs. Now, anyone who's heard of Jurassic Park knows that humans and dinosaurs don't mix. But, as usual, Blaine insisted that helicopter rides would be perfectly safe. We were to take the first one, accompanied by a film crew who would make a commercial. They would be in a separate helicopter. Now, I'm going to condense this part because it all happened really fast. The helicopter went down and Blaine got eaten by one of the dinosaurs. I really don't know the names of dinosaurs. In my mind, there are two kinds, those that eat meat, i.e. humans, and those that eat vegetables. The children and I ran and escaped to a plateau. I bandaged them up with my first aid kit, made a tent out of towels, which were really generously proportioned, and handed out snacks. We were all, of course, upset about Blaine, and weren't at all sure that what had happened to the helicopter pilot, whose name escapes me, and we prayed that the film crew had made it out and would send someone to save us. We slept like logs that night. We were terrified and grief-stricken and overwhelmed, and we just slept. In the morning, it occurred to me that the film crew, if they had escaped, had no way of knowing that we were alive, and there were millions of reasons Blaine's partners might not want us found. Possibly billions of reasons. So I gathered the children together and fed them, took out my compass, and started us hiking toward the coast. I felt badly that the children were so ill-equipped in their swimsuits and flip-flops, but we still managed to keep up a good pace. I thought that when you were lost, you were supposed to stay put to make it easier for people to find you, said Jeremy. Normally, I would agree with you, I explained, but your father's partners get a much, much bigger share of his company if we are dead. So to them, it makes sense to assume we died in the crash or were immediately eaten like your father was. We need to rescue ourselves. What's our plan? Asked Barbara, who was always sensible. We head for the coast. Once there, we build a raft. The tides should carry us automatically to one of the outer islands where we'll be safe, I said. Assuming we don't get eaten by the dinosaurs in the meantime, said Jeremy. Boldly assuming that, I agreed grimly. We had several more encounters with dinosaurs before reaching the coast. We walked through a herd of herbivores and snuck around a carnivore that was busy devouring an herbivore, that sort of thing. When we got to the coast, we were exhausted. We set up a towel tent, had something to eat, and fell asleep. It took us over a month to make the craft, as we had to start from scratch without tools. Jeremy gathered driftwood while Barbara made rope. I went into the jungle every day to find food and water. We learned that the dinosaurs didn't like fire, so we kept a bonfire going at all times. We got sick on strange berries and ate bizarre-looking lizards. All those nuts that Barbara had learned in Girl Scouts came in handy. Finally, we were on the raft. Jeremy had attached the towels to make sail, and we drifted quite pleasantly towards the resort. Once at the resort, everyone pretended to be thrilled we were alive, but I soon found out that no rescue had ever been attempted. I booked massages and mani-pedis. Our hands and feet were completely wrecked for the three of us and called my attorney. The settlement was huge. I took all our money out of oil and put it into solar and wind. The children and I still live at the resort. They like the pool. This story is called Gaming. Sally, stop playing with your bionics, the teacher said. Sally hung her head and scrolled back to the math lesson on her iHand, the computer embedded in her palm. She did math diligently for about 5 minutes, then surreptitiously went back to her interstellar build game. It was the best game ever. You build a base on the moon, and from there launched to other planets, building a base on each one from which to go further. You had to send supply ships back and forth to provide the fuel and materials to go further and further. You had to populate the bases so there were people to build the spacecraft and load the cargo. You had to provide a geodome where plants could be grown to feed your people. If anything was neglected, the whole system crashed. Some planets were made of gases and could only be accessed by a space station orbiting the planet. Right now, Sally was building a base on Mars, and it was almost done. "Sally, math," said the teacher. "Yes, sir," said Sally, and she scrolled back to mathematics. She'd just have to play her game at recess. Meanwhile, on Mars, Gordon wondered why the work was stopped again. They were in the middle of building the geodome, and there was a lot of time pressure, and yet everything stopped, and it was the second time that day. As the general contractor for the project, he felt responsible, but found that he couldn't move. He couldn't do anything at all. Neither could anyone else. "Am I some kind of puppet?" he asked. "And if so, who's the puppeteer?" No one else seemed to notice these weird pauses. Gordon saw the work going in fits and starts, but everyone else talked and acted as if no time passed, as if there were no pauses. Here they were, starting up again as if nothing ever happened. They managed to finish the roof of the geodome before the next pause came. "Sally, why don't you read the next paragraph for us?" asked the teacher. Sally read aloud to the class during English and enjoyed the demonstration of light wavelengths during science. She got bored in history but didn't dare annoy the teacher by playing her game. Finally, it was time to go home. She played Interstellar Build all the way home on the bus and all the way until supper time when her mother made her stop. Gordon, for his part, had started asking questions about who was financing the project and who owned the bases. All the supplies were stamped Interstellar Build, but he couldn't get any further and no one understood why he cared. "We've got great jobs out here," said Scott. "Who cares who's footing the bill? We're not going hungry. Just keep your mind on the job and you'll be okay." Scott noticed the long pause while Sally ate her dinner and did her homework. He and Gordon just got back to work when the pause was over. The vegetable gardens got planted. Sally was playing Interstellar Build when her friend Monica appeared on the screen. "Oh my gosh, Sally," she guessed. "You've got to play the new Intergalactic Voyage with me. It's the best game ever." Sally could not believe how much fun the new game was. So much better than Interstellar Build. Gordon wondered if the pause would ever end.
Tara, we're out of time. Thank you. Good stuff. Okay, so we have two more readers, Felicia Rose and then Kaylee Jensen. And yeah, we'll see how much time we have left after that. Come on up, Felicia.
I just have two short poems. They're both works in progress. The first one is, I guess what inspired me was that I wake up every morning well before sunrise, and I often look out the window and I feel like I'm looking out on something that's very private and very beautiful. So it's called Voyeurism. Dawn, hidden behind a canopy of black starry sky, lies still in her chamber under a sconce of silvery moon. I, a voyeur, watch from my window as the chambermaid slips into the room, snuffs out the candelabra of stars, and slowly, sensually parts that thick black chiffon. Ah, the cleavage of two fleshy mountains shaped by a corset of snow. The unfurling of blue and pink garters of light. Dawn, an amorous lover, shifts to the chambermaid's touch, sheds her pale satin sash, and bears a shadowy marsh. And this is another work in progress called Ode to Reprieve. Sometimes the suffering comes slowly. A child, once stable and spry, descends into pools of despair. Other times it occurs with shocking speed. A boat, a storm, the death of a chum. Still other times it erupts within, a geyser beneath a placid mien. Amidst it all, you lean in to kiss my lips, and for this moment at least, a gentle rain cleanses the world of grief.
Hello. I've never ever done this before.
All right, welcome.
I mean, honestly, I've never read anything that I've written ever in my life. And this is very sentimental. This that I wrote is very sentimental to my heart because it's just happened and I have to write about it. This is about my cat that just passed away, sorry. And so this is going to be very hard for me to write or to talk about. I can't believe that I even wanted to read about it. So bear with me, okay? This is called My Sweet Angel. What will we do without you here? I miss hearing your meow and seeing your sweet smile you share always. I miss your belly rubs and the warmth you share. I have lost many animals, but none like you. You never complained when trouble came. You were brave even when you felt scared. Your life touched my heart. You cared for me. Now you're in heaven, and I can't bear to see. Oh, how I miss you, my darling little man. You stole my heart, so I will try to be brave until I see you again. But now, demon, we love and miss you. You will never be forgotten, and can't wait to be reunited with you again. Till then, the soft meows and times will stay in my broken heart. But your memories stay in through your brother and the things you left in our hearts. You brought joy and love into our home. Love you, demon.
Thank you, everyone. Great readings. Thanks, RaeAnne. Chad, did you have anything else you wanted to talk
Is there
about?
time for one more?
There is.
I'll read something in honor of RaeAnne.
Wonderful.
Sorry.
Okay, Chad.
Hey.
Hi, Chad.
I've read this here before, but I thought I would read it in honor of RaeAnne's appearance, which was great, by the way. Way to go, RaeAnne. I think you owned it. I think you nailed it. Stuck the landing. So yeah, this is maybe I could get some critiques from you, RaeAnne. This is my love story. It's called Just Wait for the Answer. Just wait for the answer. This girl is so quiet. You may have misjudged just how quiet she really is. There are things you know about her, things you don't. She listens to classical music, can ride a horse, ambivalent about seafood, trivia mostly. There is one thing you know for sure, that she's quiet. But there's nothing you can do about that now. Your time is up. She puts on her coat, and together you walk out into the night and the rain in a parking lot. Tonight was great, you tell her. The girl nods and grins. That's all she does. The asphalt shines in the darkness like a great spill of ink. You walk to her car and open the door, and she gets in. Rush around to the other side and you get in. Street lamps glimmer wet and bleary through the windows. For a few seconds you don't look over. She's there in the passenger seat, and you figure she'll say something if you don't look over. But she doesn't, and so you do. And when your eyes meet, she turns away. There is no more than 8 inches separating the two of you, no sound but the rain. It makes a noise like radio static. To fill up the quiet, you begin to talk at her, and you keep talking for a while. Sure got cold in a hurry, you say. It was gorgeous this afternoon. She peers up through the window into the wet black sky as if to confirm this. My stupid car, you continue, it fogs up so bad. I have to, you wipe the windshield with your palm, then switch on the defroster. I have to run the defrost and the AC at the same time when it gets this way. Yeah, the evaporator in the fins of the AC unit condensed the moisture out of the air, like a dehumidifier, you say. It's a trick I learned. See, it's already starting to work. There's really not much difference between a dehumidifier and an air conditioner. You're not really sure if that's true. She laughs. You know of no sound you would rather listen to. Hearing it makes you laugh. Then you both sit quietly again in the watery light as the defroster breathes a rough and continuous sigh. A raindrop creeps down from the top edge of the windshield, joining with nearby droplets until it becomes a rivulet that courses down and out of sight like a tear. This girl has said nothing, and is apparently content to keep doing so. You gnaw at the inside of your cheek to stop yourself from lecturing further on the physics of automobile climate control. Maybe a laugh or a glance from this girl holds more meaning than that of another. You recalibrate, because there's something you want to say, something heavy. You love the girl. She probably knows, but it's time you said it to her. You rehearsed it earlier so that it will come out right. It didn't go very well. It felt dishonest to manufacture a moment between two people, to force it into the open that way. But you want to happen right. You want it to happen right, so you're gauging the mood, and you want to know how she'll respond. So you're watching her, searching like a pilot for somewhere to land. You scan the landscape. You know, I was surprised, you tell her. I never thought you'd be into a stupid movie like that one. She shifts in her seat. Or maybe that was a shrug, or some cryptic bit of body language that you failed to catch. It was fun, she admits. She looks at you. Right, it wasn't too bad. The movie, I mean, it was okay. Yeah, it really was. So, you breathe. Tomorrow. She only nods, but when you look at her, she doesn't turn away. So you move in your seat to face her, turn off the defroster, take off your hat. You speak her name, and then you tell her, I love you. I do. And I've been wanting to say it. Then you nod once, as if to punctuate it, as if to let her know that you're through speaking for a while. Or maybe forever. At this point, it's hard to say. Because it didn't come out exactly the way you rehearsed. There was something you wanted to say beforehand, a transition into it. There was a cadence. But the moment has already been created, and it begins to unfold around you. And it unfolds around the girl. She played a role, and it is still playing a role. And so you discover that any such moment must be forced into existence, or else it couldn't exist at all. Like a line of words in a love letter, or a parting embrace. These are intentional acts to be held between two people, if only for a short time. The girl puts her face in her hand and cries. She cries because she leaves tomorrow. In the morning she'll be gone, and you will likely never be together again. You haven't decided what this means or what can be done about it. So you take her in your arms and you hold her, and you keep holding her for a while. She squeezes you hard, buries her face in your shirt. You breathe in the smell of her and pull her softness against you. Through her sobs, she whispers your name, and you feel it on your neck. If you lose her, it will be months before you can appreciate the cost of it, and the pain will last much longer. Some of it will never go away. But there is one more thing you learn in the dim light of that inky parking lot. Love is a girl sobbing on your neck, and the price of love is loneliness. She sits still, arms folded across her middle. When the girl settles back into the passenger seat, your shoulder is damp. She sniffs, wipes her face with her fingertips, and says nothing. All is quiet but for the rain. It streaks the windows. Your cheeks grow hot, and you watch the girl for signs. She sits still, arms folded across her middle. Her back is straight, head tilted forward. On her face, an expression that is neither smile nor frown. You cannot see her eyes beneath her long eyelashes. If there is any signal in her stillness, you lack the ability to infer it. Then she looks up. Her arms unfold and her hands come to rest in her lap, one soft petal cradled in the other. Her gaze meets yours and her lips part. She draws a breath. And if you thought what you had to say was heavy, just wait for the answer. Thanks.
I love that one. I remember that one, but the main thing I remember about that one was the air conditioner part. I couldn't remember the ending, and that's why, because the ending isn't one. I love that part. It goes on. Thanks again, RaeAnne. Thanks again to our readers. This was a great night. And would you please come to Helicon West in exactly 1 month, March 26th. It's Darren Edwards, spoken word poet, and the Bullpen Slam. It's going to be great. All right, put your chairs away, please. Thanks for coming.